Hi, folks. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, when or wherever you may be. Now, folks, today I have a small video, short video to show you from Euronews. It's a very small thing, but it's very significant in the way that I believe things will develop from now, accelerating a process that was already beginning, which is the process of allies, former allies of the United States. I still have to call them allies of the United States, okay? Because we still have alliances, meaning legal documents that apparently are worth something for us, but are worthless for the American president and his cabinet. But former allies, they are simply disengaging with the United States and allying themselves, meaning the middle powers simply allying with themselves, creating bonds, creating strength, as it should be, because they share common values such as democracy, such as the freedom of their citizens. A lot of things that have become alien in the United States for a large part. I'm not saying there are not people that are still Democrats, and I'm not talking about a party. I'm talking about being Democrats, as in supporters of democracy. I'm not saying they don't exist in the United States. What I do see is that they are either being rolled into a sort of cooperative system under the Democratic Party, which is a natural response to what the Republicans have been doing. And I'm not saying this is not inevitable and that this is not preferable to having the Republicans in the United States in power, but that also in the short run it will allow the United States to normalize its relationships with other countries. Okay, if you elect Democrats to power, it will normalize relations. There's absolutely no doubt about it. But the issue here is that it will not change the process itself, which is a process by which the United States has been losing its soft power and its power projection in the world. And power never knows a vacuum, so other powers are filling in. But again, I want to show this video and then we are going to talk a bit about it. It's a short one, less than a minute, okay? But a very important one. Let's watch.
First, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney will address the European Parliament on September 17th as Canada and the EU seek closer ties amid escalating tensions with the United States. Arrangement. Carney will also attend the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen's State of the Union speech on September the 16th.
Then children.
The visit follows the collapse of US-Canada trade talks and Washington's decision to impose tariffs of up to 50% on $20 billion of Canadian goods.
Because I want to be.
Canada has vowed to respond with matching counter tariffs as Carney seeks closer partnership with the EU and so-called middle powers.
Now, we all know what happened. Like I said in another video, the Americans and the Canadians, they were pretty close to simply maintain Kuzma more or less as it was, and that would be an agreement that would be satisfactory for both parties. It would allow normal trade to continue as normal as it can be, and little more. And then in the last minute, Mr. Trump sent his two lackeys, Witkoff and Kushner, to change the agreement and try to throw in a couple of humiliating proposals. I have talked about this in another stream. I don't know if it was on purpose or if it was because they had the infantile idea that Canada would bow to them. Okay, and it was basically to stop Canada from trading with anyone without the permission of the United States, to give preference to American companies in public procurements and other types of developments in Canada, It was true. For example, the stupidest one of it all was through isn't American companies, especially of media and all of that, to translate uh, all all the movies and all of their stuff and all the products to French. I kid you not. You know what language people speak in Quebec, correct? Ils parlent le français. Ils ne parlent pas anglais. Mais ils parlent anglais. Mais la langue, l'idiome qu'ils parlent, c'est le français. C'est un peu différent de le français en France, mais c'est le français. Okay? I was speaking in French. Sorry for my terrible accent. I hadn't spoken it in a long time right now. But basically, it means that in Quebec, they speak French. It's their own version of French. It's slightly different, but if you are a French speaker and reader like I am, if you ask someone to just speak a bit slower, you will understand it perfectly. Okay, I would compare it to, for example, the accent of continental Europe or continental Portugal. Sorry, the mainstream accent, so to speak, because we also have a lot more accents than one in in continental Portugal, but the mainstream, the bland accent of Portuguese in continental Portugal, and for example, the way they speak Portuguese in the Azores Islands. Okay, I worked in the Azores Islands for a couple of months. Wonderful people. Just the weather is not for me. It's it's very damp and very unpredictable. It's an Atlantic island climate. Okay, it's normal, but the people, wonderful people. They really helped me, and I have nothing to say about the people. Okay, but they speak in a way that is a bit different. It's how can I describe it? It's a bit quicker and more, and they put the vowels on the up of their mouths. Okay, it's a bit different. But truth be said, after 2 or 3 days of listening to them speak and occasionally asking them, please speak a bit slower, okay? I'm just an Alentejan, Southern Portuguese, okay, and I'm not used. Not useful to the rhythm, and people would usually just laugh it off and talk a bit slower, and I would understand. That is the same difference in my view, my opinion. That is the same difference between so-called mainstream French, because again, French also has different accents, different ways of speaking it, and the French that they are speaking in Quebec. So this lunatic wanted Canada to exempt American companies from translating everything to the mother language of a percentage of its population. If it was me, I would even force them to use native languages of the Native Americans, of the Americans. I would force them to do that because I think, look, I think this is such a disrespect to the culture of someone. I honestly believe this was the weight that broke the camel's back. Okay, this was what broke the camel's back. It's a sign of utmost disrespect, of utmost disgusting behavior by someone that, and look, and like I was saying in the other video, I think they are living in another world. I think these people are sitting in Washington D.C. and they are living in another world. They have an idiot in charge. Sorry, but the man is an idiot, okay? Again, I'm not talking about whatever physical issues he might have. I told you why I am not going to go into that. But you have someone that is giving look, even if you are a bloody fascist, if you think this man is projecting power, you are sadly mistaken. He is projecting weakness. He's telling the rest of the world that the United States is a country of idiots that allow themselves to be governed by a weak old man that should be out golfing, okay, or doing whatever he wanted to do, and not be in power. The man, he's weak. And right now, anyone who associates with you, is also considered weak. And this is why countries are backing out from you. Because you see, in American media, they will, and I talked about this in the other stream, but I need to talk about this here too to justify it into the context. In American media, you will see things like, for example, when Trump got the agreement with Europe, and automatically they start saying things like I told you, the Democrats, YouTubers that piss me off, they started to say things like, oh, they are going to buy this and they are going to buy that and they are going to pay the tariffs and this and that. No one went into the trouble like I went. I also heard two Brazilian YouTubers talk about this. Something that I usually don't follow much of Brazilian social media or whatever because not okay because it hasn't happened still. But a friend of mine told me, look, listen to this guy. He's saying about the same thing that you are saying. I'm not going to say names or whatever because I don't want to maybe people don't want to be mentioned or whatever. I'm starting to have a bit of conscience about that, and I'm starting to try not to do that because look, I don't want to bother other people really, but they all of them, but European YouTubers, those Brazilian YouTubers, even a guy from Japan or Korea, I don't recall, that also was talking with another one, with another person from Australia that were talking about this. They failed to see this simple thing. What the EU did is what the EU does with other countries that export here. They allow them to export, for example, a quota of cheese, a quota of beef, a quota of chicken. Do you understand how these things work? European nations, they agree in which quotas of products they will allow into our common market. So I also talked about this in other streams. Portugal and Spain have bought beef from South America for literally centuries, since the inception of the country, of those countries, because we saw they were suitable for to have big herds of cattle, both in Brazil and in Argentina, in Uruguay, in Paraguay. Okay, in Paraguay a little bit less, but also a lot, because they had large expenses with grasslands that could be used to for pastures, okay, for beef mainly, but also for things like wild pigs, I don't know, goats, everything, okay. And ever since those days, that beef has been exported to continental Europe. First, they would be salted. Okay, they will put even. Oh, sorry. Uh, the PC is not very stable. Sorry, but first they would salt that meat. They would clean it. They would salt it, and then they would ship it to Europe. Okay, and afterwards they started to send it deep freeze in deep freeze, and that has always happened. Okay, when we need beef, for example, Portugal, we have a lot of beef, but we still have to import a percentage. But we have a lot of beef, especially in the southern region. We have a lot of cattle, but there's cattle all over the country. Okay, even in the northern regions, in the Minho, which is the region of the district, or whatever you want to call it, of Porto and Braga and Bragança, okay, Trás-os-Montes. But to me, the best beef here, for example, is the beef from southern Portugal and the beef from the Azores Islands, the Açores, like we say. Okay, to me, that's the best beef, and usually that beef is enough. But we also import that beef from South America, and we buy it. The only difference right now with the EU is what? Is, for example, tons of Brazilian beef was stopped from being imported by the European states because it was not produced under the conditions that the single market demands in the customs union. That's the only difference. If a Brazilian producer has its certificates on in order, if they raise their cattle to the conditions of the market, the random checks are made to ensure that the beef is at that quality. That's easy. Okay, that's chemical chemistry 101. Okay, let's not go there. You can see if the meat has hormones or has this or that chemical, whatever, if it's tainted with anything. If they obey those rules, well, then they can export to Europe under that agreement of the percentage. Portugal, for example, with other EU countries, also has a quota of cheese. This is an example. It can sell to Canada. Canada also has quotas of what they can sell to Europe. This is normal. Okay, this is something that is very normal, because you are not going, for example, imagine this: you start producing sheep beef, even fulfilling the conditions of our market. You start producing cheap beef, and then you flood our markets and you ruin our economy. This is not normal. This is one of the ways where tariffs can be used. For example, you tariff the beef that comes from the outside of your country in order to reduce its price. But the base principle of respecting the rules of the market to which you are exporting to, sorry, those are maintained. I will tell you this: even China follows the rules of our market to export here. We follow the rules of phytosanitary rules and all of that of China to export to China. Spain, for example, it exports tons of pork products to China. Portugal exports wines and others, and also some pork and all of that to China. So this is normal. This is something that is absolutely normal, and people look. What shocks me sometimes is, why don't the people that were negotiating these tariffs, like I said in my video, the scrubs, okay, the technicians that were with the Canadian technicians discussing the points of the agreement, these people were normal and decent people. But when the political stupidity comes in by the part of the United States, it breaks the deal. And no one wants a bad agreement. And no one will bow to the United States because, number one, the United States has no cards, except the Joker that is in the White House. Okay? And number two, Canada can do exactly what it is doing. You want to know what Prime Minister Carney is doing right here in Europe, and why is he going to come here? Do you think Do you think before he did this, he didn't call up people in the EU? He didn't call up, for example, Costa or Macron or von der Leyen or Merz. Okay, do you think even from the UK also, because Burnham? Okay, I'm certain he. Do you think he didn't call them and told them, look, the deal, he wants this, and that. I am not going to accept it because, of course, it's ridiculous. So, are you with me? And everyone said yes. You want to know what's going to happen? The products that we are still buying from the United States, which is the energy and weapons, we are going to stop buying energy from Canada. And weapons, we have been winding it up down. Okay, because NATO is becoming more and more European, because the United States is failing. And again, I will repeat this. I'm not talking about. Look, I'm absolutely certain that the American military personnel that is in Europe working within NATO is perfectly capable and they are doing their job. I'm absolutely certain of that. And anyone who comes and says this, they are doing this, that, no, shut up. Shut up. These people are doing their job. But they are also, number one, not receiving the support that they require from home. You saw this happen when German soldiers were starving, because this is ridiculous, because they weren't being paid. German soldiers, sorry, American soldiers in Germany, they were starving. They were being fed by Germans. The German people were pretty much selling them without receiving the money to receive afterwards, so that these people would feed themselves and their families. People see, and right now, people in the United States, they are talking about what happened to the sailors in the Straits of Hormuz, and I understand that, but they apparently have forgotten about that. Do you think we forgot about that? I didn't forgot about that. I imagine being I imagine being an American soldier working in NATO, and I have my family with me, and they are usually living within the base or outside the base in designated areas. They are living with their family and coming home and telling the wife he had received no pay and he couldn't afford to buy groceries to eat. Can you realize the humiliation? This is humiliating. And this entire business with Canada is humiliating. It's humiliating to each and every American citizen. And I cannot understand how you can sit idly by and watch this shit going on. If it was here, cities would be bloody burning. And what do you have? Well, you have a guy with some extra big balls that drove all the way from his home somewhere outside of Washington in a pickup truck with a guillotine in the back, and he started to roll around in Washington D.C. And then of course he got arrested, and now they are going to accuse him of I don't think some shit like carrying a deadly weapon in the back in open, or some shit like that. That man, that man has more balls than all the idiots that are doing weekend parades, weekend protests that are jack shit. They are worthless. Look, what is the value of making a protest that achieves nothing? You are achieving nothing. Look, I'm not talking about, when I say burning the cities, let me rephrase this so that there is no doubt. I'm not talking about looting businesses. I'm not talking about burning cars. Not talking about any of that shit. I'm talking about all the citizens to simply, for example, every time those idiots start to say the shit that they are saying in Fox News, to turn them off, to refuse to buy their products. If you start to refuse to buy the products, and you will tell me, "Oh, there is nothing more. They will sell me. They won't sell." My friends, I don't look. You will find a way. You will find a way. But if you stop feeding the corporations, if you completely ignore them and they start to feel it in their pockets, you will see how quick that song and dance will change. You allow, for example, right now in the United States, this is the big play. You allow corporations to install data centers, to pollute your water, to steal your resources, because the council allows it. Well, if you all march down to the council, okay, if you all march down as a unit back to the council and kick them out and tell them you have no legitimacy of representing me because you are not representing us, or if you go down to the data centers and you simply not know, they will call the cops. Yes, they will call the cops, and you will suffer. But that is the nature of protests. When I go on strike, my friends, when I go on strike, I am perfectly aware that I'm going to lose a day of salary, and believe me, I need it, like anyone else, because I'm not fucking rich. When, right now, no, but when I went into protests, I knew perfectly well that there could be consequences, that I could be arrested, that I could be beaten, but I went. Why? Because I'm a bloody citizen, I'm not a peasant. And this is the difference between a citizen and a peasant. A peasant accepts everything. He might complain, he might, but he does it. And the citizen, even when they are forced to do it, and sometimes we are forced to do it too, like you, we are continuously questioning, we are continuously saying no, we are continuously calling them out, we are continuously mocking them, we do whatever it takes. And yet you sit idly, oh, the American people, they are too indoctrinated, they are too tired, they are too this. Well, then you must like to be peasants. And look, and I know I have American subscribers, and look, I'm sorry, but I have to say this. And like I said in other streams also, my friends, remember this: when we stop talking about you, you are in serious troubles, because that is will be the moment in which we will not care, in which whatever happens to you happens, and we don't give a fuck. Friends are the only ones that tell you you're doing something wrong. Enemies, they let you do it. They let you fall. Well, all I have to say is Canada, we have your back. Canada, join us and let's make a better future, because like Mr. Carney said, the time of the United States is done. So we better go, we better simply continue, okay, because there is really nothing more we can do. Folks, thank you very much for watching this video. Thank you very much for coming back to my contents, to for watching my videos, for liking, for subscribing. Again, I will try to bring you more and more good contents, talk about different things, talk about the things that I think we need to be talked about. And I hope to catch you all in the next one. Stay safe.